Today, Elijah White, retired VP from Exxon Mobil, graduate of UNC Chapel Hill, godly father, faithful husband, righteous servant, man of God, generous friend, disciplined steward, and strategic planner. And now, producing from Wisdom's pipeline.
Because there was a study that was done. It was done many years ago, and it was based on if you had $10,000 and you put that $10,000 in Dell, in Walmart, and in Exxon. At that time, it was before the merger, and let it stay there for 8 years. The Exxon had a great return. That $10,000 in 8 years became $29,000. Okay. That $10,000 in Walmart in 8 years became $1.2 million. That same $10,000 after 8 years in Dell became $2.1 million. And here I am thinking my $29,000 is a great deal, but look what Dell and Walmart did. You would have never guessed Walmart. Dell, you might have guessed, right? And so those brothers that pulled out at the 30,000 missed a great opportunity. Here's the problem, though. They still made $20,000, right? But guess what? Had they stayed in it too long, they would have lost their shirts. So, really understanding what that right mark is. So it's all about, making sure you got goals and objectives. What are my goals? When I invest in, let's say, Dell, I'd really like to get a 10% return on my money or whatever I did. These guys did great. They got, 200% return on it. So the question is, what are your goals and objectives, and make sure you don't get too greedy. Amazon, boy, just think about the people who invested in Amazon when it was $35. And even me, when I looked at Amazon, it was about $1,000 a share, because man, I'm not wasting money on that. It's over $3,000 now. But understanding that, but also, what can I afford to lose? Can I put $100,000 in Amazon and let it sit there for 10 years? And if I lose money, does it take anything off my family's plate? And if the answer is no, it's a safe bet. But if I can't feed my kids, clothe my kids, take care of my wife, that's not something you should be doing. So it's all relative to where your position of stake in life. There's one I really missed out on. It's called Novavax, and it happened right about the time of the coronavirus. It was selling at $4 a share. The last time I looked, it was up around $170 a share. That would have been a great deal. But you know what? But I didn't need it. I would love to have it, but it wasn't part of, quote unquote, my game plan. I did not pivot for that because I like the avenue that I'm on right now. I've got enough bandwidth.
Yeah, there's risk reward with everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is assessing risk. And then part of what helps you assess risk is having the access to the knowledge and those experts. And so I love that I'm hearing you say that, because oftentimes we in our novice, we look at some things and we trying to guesstimate when we could have just spent an hour with someone, maybe like yourself or even a professional, and say, hey, look, you do this for a living. Here's $100. Let me get some guidance and wisdom from you. And then make that investment, or let them do it for you and really come out on top.
Well, you'd be surprised a lot of times they won't take your $100. They want you to invest with them. Let's just say we go to a bank. They have a lot of private, they call them best bankers, I think. I can't remember the name they call them, some of these banks. But basically, you go in there, and these guys will sit down and talk about finances with you. And then what they will do is says, okay, I need you to invest $10,000. And they're going to get paid based on the money that you make. And so you don't pay them up front. And so that's where a lot of these guys work. And so the question is, how much of your money are you willing to give away? And people say, well, I don't want to give them 10%. I don't want to give them 20%. Well, 20% or 10% of a whole lot is a whole lot. But guess what? So is that either 90 or 80% that you're taking home. And so
yes,
people need to stop worrying about, what you're giving somebody else versus what you're getting out of the deal. And I think that is probably the biggest issue I see with most people who want to invest. They're so worried about what everybody else is doing. Well, I'm really focused on, well, how's this going to help Elijah White and his family? And if you happen to get rich based on something I'm doing, you know what? I'm not really worried about that. I've got my goals. I've got a very laser vision right now on my goals and objectives.
Yeah, one of my boys, and I don't know him, but Dak Prescott, I'm sure that at some point he was just like, man, just sign the papers, sign the papers, just give me a deal. But he had lended his to an expert, and that expert understood the market, understood his value, and fought for every penny. And he got every penny. So, and then, like you said, who cares how much that guy got paid in the interim? The fact is that he maximized Dak's earning potential, and he's going to benefit from that forever. Now, but I want to switch a little bit because you are also one of the guys that you're well respected in every circle that you're in. But one of the reasons you're respected is not because of what you've obtained and from what you've accomplished, but really more so for who you are. So when people talk about Elijah White, they don't talk about the things that you've done. They talk about the character and the type of person you are. Do you believe that single thing, working on your character or being a man of character and integrity, has been something that has been an asset in accomplishing and obtaining?
Absolutely. I go back to my work experience. So, ExxonMobil, when, I accomplished some things at ExxonMobil that I just didn't think were possible for an African-American, a black man to accomplish in that company. And when I looked back at, some of the people that worked for me are the people who helped me along the way. And every step that I went, I saw those people in the background clapping and cheering and sending me notes of encouragement. And I'm trying to figure out, why wouldn't they be upset that I'm kind of passing them up? And somebody told me one time, is like, what, sometimes it's not about, who becomes your boss. It becomes about the character of your boss, if you will. And it was all about that. People wanted to see me succeed. And I tell people many times that when I look back, I had many admins, we start out calling them secretaries, but administrative assistants that went along the way. And I kept telling people how good they all were. And somebody said, well, I don't understand how they're all great. I said, well, maybe you and I measure greatness differently. But I measured greatness in these people. They were very skilled at what they did, but they all wanted to see me succeed. And guess what that means? That means they worked double time. I never forget, I was in Africa at one time and I had an issue. And I called my admin at 1 o'clock in the morning because of the time difference. She was in bed, she woke up, she jumped up, turned the light on, and I just kept apologizing profusely. She had everything set there. She was ready to answer all my questions. I goes, how am I going to make this up to you? She said, you already have. And I said, okay. So, it was just one of those deals that had I been a different type of boss, maybe she wouldn't have answered the phone. Maybe she pretended like she hadn't heard, that type of deal. So, yeah, I think character is really important because we all, choose our friends. Okay. We can't choose our family. They're there, but, we choose our friends. And we choose who we want to work with sometimes. And I know people say, no, you're forcing it. No, people have a lot of choices in the jobs that they take and things that they do. And in fact, a story, I'll get off here for a second. The first admin that I ever hired, in fact, when I became a supervisor, they told me I could hire my own admin. And I interviewed, 3 people. The first lady basically asked me, well, are you going to be a president one day? I go, huh? I said, I just became a first-line supervisor. I don't know what tomorrow holds. She said, well, I only want to work for a president. But she basically put me down. The second lady, she had some experience, but she wasn't really experienced as an admin, but they wanted to train her. And I figured, I'm coming into this as a new supervisor. I really need somebody who's experienced, who's kind of help me along the way. So the third lady was interviewing with 3 different people at Exxon. I was the most junior person she was interviewing with. And all 3 made her an offer and she got to choose and she chose me. And it was, I could not figure out for the world. She said, I just feel like we connect. And we're still really good friends to this day. And when I retired, her husband was working for me because her husband also worked for the company. And we're more friends than anything else. And again, she said, I looked at your character, the type of man that at least she said, I just met you, but I like what I see. And I think character is so important because guess what? It means other people want to see you succeed. Other people want to help you along the way. And with the exception of very few people in this world, can anybody claim they did it on their own. Now, people can claim it. Whether they did or not is a whole different thing.
Exactly. Well, one of the things that is probably valued the least is people.
Yeah. Well.
And particularly from the top down, a lot of times the perspective from the top down is more like I'm doing you a favor or you work for me, and not that servant type of mindset. Did you always have that servant type of mindset, or did you see something and model it going into corporate?
I grew up in the church. And I was raised by women. I was raised by my mother and my grandmother, to be quite honest. And I saw that servant attitude, or that servant mindset, if you will. I tell people that when I was a little boy, my father wasn't around. My mom worked 2 jobs to make sure that, we had food to eat and clothes on our back and a place to live. So it was freezing outside. My job was to get up, go out there and warm up her car, make sure I got the ice off her windshield so it was ready to go when she was ready to go. When she worked at one of the hospitals, she had a uniform. I got up and ironed her uniform and had no problems doing it. It was just the way I was brought up. It was just that, my mama, I saw how hard she worked. And sometimes, we were still asleep when she left, or we were asleep when she came home type deal. And so there was no way I was not going to help in every way that I could somebody who was working so hard for my benefit. And that's just the mindset I've always had.
Yeah, that servanthood, and Jesus did a great job of modeling that, because when you serve others, you receive that back. People serve you. The more you value people, the more they value you. The more you invest in people, the more they invest in you. And so I thank God that you had that type of mindset, because you've also been able to bring some other people up with you. So let me ask you that, what is it like to not just walk up the ladder, but to also be able to mentor some people and to open some doors for them as well?
I think it's one of the things that other than say, watching my children walk the right walk, seeing people that I've kind of mentored along the way, accomplish some of the goals and objectives they set, I'm not sure anything makes me prouder. And the fact that they would still call me. I won't tell you the name of the company that the guy works for, but I will tell you he's a senior executive, one of the most successful companies on the planet. And I met him some years ago when I still thought he was a pretty high-level guy. And he came to me and asked me to be a mentor. And I almost laughed at him. I go, shouldn't it be the other way around? And I would find that I'd be walking in the mall over Christmas with my daughter shopping, and this guy would call me, asking me, real critical questions that were important to him. And I'd always stop to have that conversation with him. And I will tell you, it's been amazing to see his transformation and how he handles things. And he'll still call me from time to time to kind of let me know what's going on, to seek advice. And I'm still, and I'm in awe that this guy would bother to pick up the telephone to call me. I got a happy anniversary note on FaceTime from a lady the other day who's the CEO of a major company in Australia. And I actually sent her a note, because like, why do you have time to even mess with us regular people? She just laughs about that, But again, it's like, I am so proud to see where these folks are, and the fact that they have not forgotten the people who, no matter how small the hand or the help they had along the way, they haven't forgotten that. And to me, those are the people that I'm just so happy to be around, because I know what they're doing to try to help others. And in fact, this guy, Exxon went through a layoff here recently, and I had some friends that were laid off, and they start calling me up, and I called this guy, said, I'm going to send you a couple of names, and I'll try to only send you a few. He said, yeah, send me all the good people you got. And I've only sent him one, and that one person is now working for his company. I don't even know if he had anything to do with that or not, but I know he didn't hurt a chance, so let's put it that way.
Yeah, that is awesome, because one of the things that you've done well is managing bridges, which is managing relationships. And that is a major Christian principle, because the relationships that we have with people will determine whether they're willing to follow us. Join us next week for Producing from Wisdom's Pipeline